Hey rockers, welcome back to the channel, man. I got another story for you tonight. Before I get into that, I do want to say thanks to Brad Elvis and Chloe F. Orwell from The Handcuffs. Great band, man. Great rock and roll band, The Handcuffs. Of course, I could go on, but I will say that Brad Elvis, of course, played drums for the Romantics and the Elvis Brothers and Scream and Big Hello, and they were cool enough to send me their t-shirt, which I wore in another video that I had to put as unlisted because certain people are pretty sensitive, and I thought, well, gotta draw the line somewhere. But now I'm wearing the shirt. Shout out to The Handcuffs. Great band, man. Thanks, guys. Right now, we're gonna go back to the year 1992, and if you hear some whining in the background, my dog's freaking out because we adopted my wife adopted a bunny rabbit, and she's trying to get out there to hang out with it and just wants to nurture the bunny. Hey man, 1992 is the year. There was a record convention going on in Peoria, Illinois, and the guest rock star to be there taking photos and doing autographs was the one and only guitar player from the original Alice Cooper group. That's right, the one and only Michael Bruce. Of course, rest in peace to Glenn Buxton, who was like the lead player and the second, other guitar player in that great band, Alice Cooper and the guys. Of course, Michael Bruce, first Alice Cooper album right here, Pretty's for You. I took this to that record convention and thought, I'm going to meet Michael Bruce and have him sign my record. And he did that very day. And that was pretty cool, man. And when we got to the record convention, of course, I'm a record geek. I love vinyl. Looked around at records, saw other rockers talking to Michael Bruce, and I'm like, there he is, man, what a legend. The composer of stuff like $1 Billion Babies and 18 and stuff. He contributed greatly to rock and roll. I mean, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2011? I made a note. 2011. The band they got back together with Alice and did the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing, which was cool. My friends, finally, there was no one in line to talk to Michael, and I went ahead and decided to walk over, say hello. He was super friendly, had a great sense of humor, and also a dark sense of humor, which was cool, because so do I. And of course, if you're going to be with the original Alice Cooper band, I would be let down if he wouldn't have been. But Michael was super endearing, friendly, very cool, talking about the old days, answering any questions we had about the Alice Cooper group and all the original records. It was cool, man. And then I said to him, hey man, how long are you in town for? He's like, I'll still be in town another day or so. I said, how about an interview for my fanzine? And he goes, I'd love to. So after we talked a while and kind of conversed about the Alice Cooper band days and all the early stuff, I set it up to get him a call the next day as he was staying at the home of rock and roll legend Craig Moore. Now, Craig Moore is the guy that put on the record convention. He's the guy that set that whole thing up, brought Michael Bruce to town, and Craig, of course, played in the great 60s garage rock band called Gone, G-O-N-N. Uh-oh, see my dog? She's dying to get out of here, and she's going to ruin this video. Yes, she's bound and determined to destroy my night. It's only been going on for 24 hours. Why not? My friends, Craig Moore brought him to town. Michael Bruce was cool. I called him the next day at Craig's. God, the dog's out of here. And he answered the phone, and he was super friendly. And we started joking around. And you can actually hear that recording, the entire 20-minute interview I did in 92 with Michael Bruce at my other channel. It's called The Church of Rock, all one word. And please subscribe there if you would, and take a moment to subscribe to this channel, rockers, please, and give it a like if you would, and leave a comment. So when I called Michael over at Craig Moore's house, we had a fun laugh, and you can hear the entire unedited conversation at the other channel, The Church of Rock, one word. And we talked about a lot of stuff, man. We actually talked about the band breaking up and how the band was very, you could tell he was frustrated. Because Alice, for years and years and years, once he did Welcome to My Nightmare without those guys, it was onward. He never looked back, and they kind of were hoping that even for a big payday by having one reunion tour or doing another album or maybe just getting the band together permanently. But Alice never came a-calling, and you could tell that Michael was pretty stressed out about that, and it was a little bitter. I don't blame him, He was talking about his former alcohol issues and about how much the band partied and who was the biggest partier in the band and a lot of their habits. He talked about that very, freely, of course. He also mentioned the Plasmatics because Neil Smith, drummer for the Alice Cooper group, played with the Plasmatics on the Beyond the Valley of 1984 album. Shout out to West Beach. And also, he was talking about Alice Cooper smoking crack, and I'm like, what? I didn't know he did that. I thought he was an alcoholic. And he said, well, when he did the From the Inside album, when that came out, it wasn't just alcohol problems at that point. It was, yep, it rhymes with whack. And he was smoking it. Poor guy. Then I went back and looked at some of the Alice Cooper solo records, and I'm like, wow, yeah, man, I can tell that there was something going on there, and I just didn't realize it before. And then I, of course, watched Alice do the solo show on the Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder. Look that up on YouTube. Wow, it's very apparent that Alice was indulging in these substances, but he always did quality records, in my opinion. Like, some of those records were great, man. What about, I'm Model Citizen and We're All Clones and Skeletons in My Closet, and, oh, well, he did a lot of good songs, man. We also talked about Killer being his favorite album from the Alice Cooper old days, and he was hoping they would get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which they did. Michael often talked about during the interview about how Alice doesn't do anything anymore. He doesn't record with other people. He doesn't, do that kind of thing. He's not really getting a lot of people at his shows. But then, of course, we all know that changed. And Alice Cooper, it really ever hasn't stopped. The guy just goes on and on and on, man. The Hollywood Vampires. He seems like a massive workaholic that's a really good guy, and he's contributed some killer rock and roll over the years. And it was great getting to talk to Michael Bruce, man, because we kept talking on the phone, and we talked about a show that the Alice Cooper Band had played at a place in Peoria, Illinois in 1972 called The Barn. And there's a recording of that on my other channel as well, The Church of Rock. It's a really cool recording, very raw and crazy, just good stuff. If you're a fan of the original band, you got to hear that. But we talked about how Michael and Craig Moore had gotten the car and taken a little trip down memory lane, and they went back to the barn where it was located back in the 72 and talked to this elderly lady that was living there in that area currently, or on the property. And anyway, it was kind of a funny story, which you can hear on that interview. What else did I want to talk about, my friend? He was making fun of my band because we had a band called Bloody Mess and the Skabs, right, at the time. And basically, when I went to visit him at the record convention, I went there with some of my band members from Bloody Mess and the Skabs, including Kevin Beveridge and Gabby Skab. It was us three. And the cool thing is, man, we all got a bunch of photos with Michael, and, we all love Alice Cooper. A huge influence on me, for sure, as a performer, without a doubt, And once that interview ended, I thought, I'd really like to keep in touch. So I said, when are you going to be leaving? He says, well, I'm going to still be around till tomorrow afternoon when I fly out. And I said, how about we hook up tomorrow and get some more photos together? And he said, yeah, man, let's do that. Or actually, I said something about meeting up, and he said, let's do more photos. So me and Kevin Beveridge and Gabby Skab all went down to Younger Than Yesterday Records, met up with Michael. I remember he was acting like he was stealing money from the cash register for the camera, and just doing all kinds of funny stuff to position himself to look like a crazy rock and roll outlaw in these photos. Good guy, Michael Bruce. Very cool. He was residing in Scottsdale, Arizona at the time. Not sure if he's still there or not, but what happened was, man, we hung out for a while and decided that, hey, we got time to kill. And we said, what time you got to leave? And he told us what time. And we said, why don't we go out down here to this bar like a block away or a few doors down or whatever it was, downtown Peoria, and hang out, and we'll take you to the airport. And he said, okay, man. And that's what happened. So the next thing you know, Bloody Mess and the Skabs are at the bar with Michael Bruce, who's a former alcoholic and, substance abuser. And I believe he was counseling people at the time as a living to not drink. And I can't testify to this. I could have swore he had a Bloody Mary. And that was it. And we were drinking, of course, and he might not have, though. He might not have, but I could have swore he did, and we were tripping because he was sober. But that's all he had. If he did drink, was one. I remember that. And 90% sure he did have that Bloody Mary, by the way. So he came up with this great idea. He said, Bloody Mess and the Skabs, why don't you do this for your next album cover? Let's put a big Band-Aid across the thing, and when you open it, pus squirts out everywhere. Or he said, or we could put a pus button on there where you push it and pus squirts out at you. I thought that was actually funny and ingenious. And had I had the loot, I would have done that kind of thing. Just do like 100 copies and have a Band-Aid. You open it and you just get splattered in the face with bloody pus. I'm in. Yeah, as long as it's non-toxic and maybe edible. You know what's cool, man, is we ended up hanging out at that bar. I think it was called Sonny's on Main for, you know, a couple hours. Then we had to head over to Bartonville, Illinois to the airport. We jumped in somebody's car. I believe it was Gabby's car. I can't remember if I was driving or he was. But we gave Michael a ride. We had a killer talk on the way. A lot of really dark humor. A lot of just funny jokes going on. Michael wasn't afraid to just be very witty. He was grateful for the ride. We didn't charge him any gas money, nothing weird. We just took one of our favorite rockers to the airport, man. And on the way there, he told us all kinds of cool tales. Some stuff I'm not repeating here. I do know that he went on to work with legendary punk band Anti-Scene in North Carolina. Shout out to Anti-Scene and Jeff Clayton. And you know, once we dropped Michael off while we were in the car, he gave me his phone number and he said, Bloody, get a hold of me. Let's do a project. And during the interview with him, which you'll hear, which was came out in this magazine, this is called FANATIC FANZINE, released February of 1993. I was the publisher, and I did the interview with Michael Bruce in this, and of course, Leaving from the band Fear, and Barry Williams, Greg Brady from the Brady Bunch. So this is an original copy of the FANATIC that Jeff Clayton sent me from Anti-Scene. Thank you, Jeff. Shout out. Or if not, he sent me some other copies of it, and somebody else sent this. Don't want to piss anybody off on accident. Hey, it's the Handcuffs. Hey, my friends, so Michael Bruce, we were talking on the interview about him possibly coming back to town and doing a gig. He said, maybe we could do like the worst of Alice Cooper. And I thought, that is so punk rock, man. And what happened was, when he moved away, I started writing to him and I started to call him. And we were corresponding for a short period of time, like a year, maybe less. And we literally were going back and forth with ideas because he was wanting to do a regular gig for a while, some kind of project. I said, why don't we do a punk rock tribute to Alice Cooper and make it a tribute to Alice Cooper, but a punk rock one, and call it Alice Bloody Alice. Or maybe he came up with that. Actually, I think Michael did come up with that. He did, because I thought, wow. Because the punk rock tribute thing was my idea, but I remember not having a name. And he said, how about Alice Bloody Alice? And I thought, a perfect tribute with one of the original members of Alice Cooper. Come on, how cool would that have been, man? A punk rock tribute to Cooper, you know. Wow, that could have been really fun, man. But it never materialized. But we did talk about it. That was a good time. Yeah, that's my memories of Michael Bruce, man. He was a good dude, man. And, you know, if you open the first page of this FANATIC fanzine, you can actually see some black and white photos. There's me, Michael Bruce right there holding one of my fanzines up. And there's me and the guys in the band from the Skabs, man. And there's, as you can see, an old picture of Michael in there. And here's a picture we took of Michael that day at the record store with all the black light posters behind him. Yeah, man. So back page, Bloody Mess the Skabs, full page every issue, you know, promoting my own band at the time. My friends, I appreciate you guys checking out my video. I always make little notes in case I forget to say something, because then it drives me nuts when I get done and realize, you know, I really could have said this and this, but I didn't say that and that. But I think I did cover everything, my friends. I appreciate you subscribing. Long live all the guys that are still alive, except for Glenn Buxton, rest in peace, of the original Alice Cooper band, Dennis Dunaway, Neil Smith, who I've interviewed on the Church of Rock radio show that I still host. You can find that interview on my other channel, The Church of Rock with Neil Smith. Also Dennis Dunaway, Michael Bruce, the legendary Alice Cooper, and again, rest in peace to Glenn Buxton. My friends, thanks for listening to my hyper ass yap, and I'll be back soon with more punk, rock, metal, and curveball tales right here at Bloody F Mess Official, where if you have a request for any particular story, leave it in the comments below. And I'm not 18. Nope, unfortunately. But I am going to be appearing in Davenport, Iowa, March 14th. That's a Friday night at the Raccoon Motel. Tickets available at dice.fm. And I'm appearing Saturday, March 15th at the Live Wire Lounge in Chicago, Illinois. Tickets available at dice.fm. FM. And I think actually the Raccoon Motel in Davenport, you can go to the raccoonmotel.com, guys. Hope to see some of you folks at those shows. Super 88 going to be backing me up for both of these gigs. A killer rock and roll band, been around 26 years in Peoria, Illinois. And special guest Lisa Leathers going to be joining me in Davenport, Iowa to do a tune for my new album, Dark Days Unfazed. Adios, my friends. Rock and roll.